Facts Verse presents Man finds hidden doorway on his property and freaks out when he enters. For most people, owning a home is a dream. Many people sacrifice and save for years so that they can buy their forever home. Christopher Wanliss is one of these people. He saved for a long time to purchase a home that stood on 15 acres of woodland fields. He loved the outdoors, so the idea of having all of that space all to himself, that was a dream come true. He hadn't been living there long when he decided to explore his new property. He walked around the property and took in all the sights, and everything was normal until something caught his eye. Christopher found the opening to a mine, and he couldn't believe his eyes. When he bought the property, the real estate agent never mentioned anything about it having a mine. His find had him so excited he had to see what was inside, wouldn't you? He knew it would be dark in the mine, so he went back to his house to get a flashlight, and he wasn't sure how long he was going to be there, so he also made sure to bring some extra batteries, just in case. On his way to the mine, he was beyond excited. What if the mine on his property had gold? Well, when he got to the mine, he looked at the walls and he saw something sparkling on the walls. He was sure it was gold. He took a few steps into the mine and noticed that it was very damp and cold. And when he stepped in, he could hear water flowing, but he wasn't sure where the water was coming from. He took a few steps further in, and he could hear noises echoing from inside the tunnel. The noises continued to get louder, and he started to feel a bit uncomfortable. He thought that maybe he heard sounds of metal parts or machinery moving from deep in the mine. Soon, he began to hear voices. He asked who was there, but nobody answered. Well, not too far into the mine, he saw chains hanging from the ceiling. He had no idea why they were there or who put them there, but he found the chains to be unsettling, wouldn't you? He kept walking, wondering if somebody could be living deep in this mine. It didn't take long for Christopher to start to panic and even feel claustrophobic. He decided that would be a good time to get out of the mine and make a phone call. When Christopher got to his house, he called the real estate agent who sold him the home. He let the agent know what he found. The agent told him to hold tight and somebody would be coming to the home to look in the mine for him. The two hung up and Christopher planned to stay inside his home until the person the agent sent got to his house. He sat down at the kitchen table and suddenly the lights in his kitchen began flickering like a strobe light. Soon he noticed it was getting cold inside his house. He didn't know what was going on, but he was sure it had something to do with his fuse box. He took his flashlight and went to check it out. He looked, and it didn't look as though a circuit had tripped. Well, soon it got so cold in the house he could see his own breath. He checked the fuse, and he was sure it was faulty wiring. Still feeling nervous about what he saw in the mine and what was happening to his house, he wanted to sit back down and wait. Soon a man arrived at his home. His name was Mr. Rudall, and he'd come to check out the mine. The two men walked out to the mine, and it looked like a storm was coming. The two entered the mine, and Mr. Rudall seemed incredibly excited about those sparkling walls, just like Christopher was. As the two men walked, Mr. Rudall told Christopher that something in the mine was trying to send a message. Christopher didn't know what to think. Mr. Rudall told Christopher the mine actually was a gold mine. He said it hadn't been used for a very long time. He told Christopher it looked like the mine was worked in, but it looked as though the work suddenly just stopped. Christopher couldn't figure out why somebody would leave a gold mine when there was obviously still gold there to be found. Well, he wanted to get to the bottom of it. Mr. Rudall didn't want to go deeper into the mine, so he left. Christopher decided to go deeper in himself just to see what was going on. When he got about 600 feet in, a light blinded him. He didn't know where it was coming from. Soon he came upon a door. Christopher became very nervous, but he had to see what was inside. So he opened up the door and he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Behind the door was old, broken furniture. It looked as though somebody was living there and then left in a big hurry. When he flashed his light around the room, he saw what looked like scratch marks on the wall. He put his hand up to the marks and realized the scratch marks were from a human hand. Next, he noticed a message on the wall, but he couldn't quite make out the words. He became nervous when he felt a cold breeze pass by him and what sounded like somebody whispering from behind him. Soon he heard what sounded like chains rattling. All the noises that he was hearing got louder and louder, and the temperature seemed to be dropping by the second. His fear took over and he ran out of the mine. Christopher ran back to his house wondering if the mine might be haunted. He was physically exhausted and hungry at this point. He went to a nearby cafe to get something to eat and also to find some answers. He took out his phone and Googled "Best Paranologist Near Me." The name of a tarot shop came up and it wasn't far from his home. Finally, he could get some answers. When he opened the door to the shop, a chime rang and he smelled incense right away. A woman came from the back wearing a red and purple dress with scarves. She looked at Christopher and started chanting something immediately that Christopher recognized. She was singing, and it sounded like the sound he heard in the mine with a melody. Christopher panicked and ran out the door. Christopher didn't go back to his house. Instead, he went to his mother's house and put his house back on the market for sale. The real estate agent in charge of the estate tried to reach Christopher, but he couldn't. His mother was selling the property on his behalf and was willing to take any offer that came in. Christopher never returned to the property again. He was sure that there was an angry spirit on the property that didn't want anyone there. He found a hidden doorway on his property, and then he freaked out once he found out that it was haunted. What about you? Would you move into a haunted property like this? Would having a gold mine on your property change your attitude? Tell us in the comments below and subscribe for more.